Hey, good morning. It's Al from Boston. I am doing something very special today. I'm doing a biography video, if you will, on Ken Griffin, Kenneth Cordele Griffin. It's an introspective look at this titan. I want you guys to pay close attention. I'm going to be putting up some biographical information, and I want you to just get an understanding of who this man is that we are up against, and his values, and of course the values of Citadel. And I think we're gonna have some fun. Please share this. Share this with the GME community as well as our own. This is going to provide some value. All right, so let's kick it off. All right, so this is Ken Cordele Griffin. He was born to Catherine Alice Gratz Griffin, who is 74 years old, and Donald G. Griffin, 75 years old. October the 15th, 1968 in Florida. We have no date, or I'm sorry, no place where his birth certificate can be found. So we just know he was born in Florida to Catherine, or she's known as Kathy, and Don Griffin. Now they're divorced. They have a couple of kids. Ken's one of them. We're still trying to wash out some of the details. We know he has a sister named Kelly. His father worked for General Electric. He was a production manager, and oftentimes they would travel all across the country as General Electric became the powerhouse it was. He grew up in Boca Raton, though, in Florida, and he had extended stays in Texas and in Wisconsin, where his dad, being a employee of GE, was sent out to do these extended term missions as a production manager. So I thought that was interesting. Back to Boca Raton Community High School. This is where really Ken's academic career really blossomed. His father was a very smart man, from what I'm told. His father understood efficiency. They were both very smart people. They both came from very good families. And what I can tell from Boca Raton High School, he was a captain of his high school math club. And he was very smart from the beginning. He wasn't a guy that inherited, you know, um, just all this money. No, no, no. Well, he had money. His family had money, but he was smart. He was a very quick guy. He knew mathematics very well, and he excelled at it. But he's got this formative childhood. But what really drove Ken Griffin, the man, and Citadel, is not his parents. It's not his mom and dad. It's actually this woman right here, Genevieve Gratz, born in 1911. She recently passed away. Actually, she passed away in 2010. She is the powerhouse, driving force behind Citadel. Let me tell you a story about this woman. This is an extraordinary woman. I can honestly say this is one of those American dream type things. This is pull your bootstraps up kind of story. So she was married to Wayne Gratz, who has an oil company, who owned an oil company on a farm in Libertyville, Illinois. Now, this is the 60s we're talking about. Wayne died, Ken Griffin's grandfather, and she was ready to get bought out by a bunch of oil men. They came around trying to buy her out, and Ken's grandmother, Genevieve, wouldn't have it. And she's got quite an amazing story. I did, however, find the obituary for her, and I wanted to show you guys something. Okay, guys, this is his grandmother's obituary. It has a brief biography about her and so on and so forth. Very interesting stuff. Her media biography and all that stuff. But like I said, her husband died, Wayne, 1963. We're talking the early 60s, where early onset of feminism and all that stuff. She was left two businesses, and it's incredible, but she did an incredible job of keeping it together. Look at this little blurb that I read. 5 men, beautifully dressed, arrived from the Continental Illinois Bank in Chicago, saying that Wayne had left the property in trust. They had a buyer for our oil business, and if I would please sign the dotted line. 30 years, long, fun-filled passion swirled in front of me. I casually looked up and I said, not one of you knows an oil can from a soup can. I will keep the business. If I fail, I will solve my own problems. I thought that is a very, very ballsy thing to say for a woman in the 60s. And it's just incredible. This woman is an inspiration. This is where Ken draws that never quit attitude from. This woman right here. She is that driving force behind Citadel. I'm convinced of it. And later on, we read she liked, like she did as a mother, she strove to impart her values and principles upon her grandchildren. She believed that integrity, honesty, and hard work were the bedrock of success. She saw that to her daughters, and her grandchildren graduated from college. And it goes to an Irish prayer and everything else. Guys, this is the person that Ken Griffin learned everything from. This is the driving force, the matriarch of the family, of his mother's side, of course. His father's side, not so much. But this woman here is the force. So she sat Ken Griffin down at one age and, gave him the life story, her life story, and said, hey, this is how you win. This is how you beat everybody. You just keep going. You keep going until somebody breaks. And it's incredible. I think it's one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read. Running two businesses in a time where women were, still pretty much, there wasn't that feminist movement, none of that stuff. She took it on her own. But the fact that she imparted this knowledge to Ken Griffin is why we are fighting, why he continues to defy all odds, and he continues to fight. And I respect Ken Griffin's chutzpah. I respect that he had a good pedigree, came from good pedigree, and he's a formidable enemy, and I appreciate that about him. So let's continue on with the biography, and we'll talk some more about her later. Okay, let's talk about adolescent and formative years. So we know he was the captain of his high school math club. He was extremely smart. He was not an alpha male. Okay, he simply wasn't. He was smart, and I would say he was a sigma. It's about as smart or as strong as an alpha, but not. He was smart, and I would venture to say he was on the spectrum of some way. If you listen to Ken Griffin talks, there's something off about his way he completes sentences. I don't know what that's from. I don't know if that's stress, but I would say because of his intellect that he's probably on the spectrum somewhere, being how smart he is. I just don't know. But we do know that he has a sister named Kelly. That's one of his siblings. We don't have positive ID on the other folks. They just seem like they're all over the place. We don't know who's who. We just know that he has a sister named Kelly, and that's it. He had a beautiful high school sweetheart named Katherine Weingartt. They got married, and they didn't have any kids. We'll talk about her after. What makes Ken dangerous was he had this intellect early on, and he was at the right time, at the right place, in the right moment of history to capitalize on some major things. One of them being the IBM factory. He was part, he was nearby the IBM factory, and he's one of the first people to get an IBM personal computer, where that's where his software engineering background started. He started learning BASIC, C++, so on and so forth. And he had a strong background in that. And eventually he was accepted into Harvard. And we're going to talk about that next. He's also a member of the Fourth Presbyterian Church of Chicago. I'm unable to confirm if he's a Calvinist or not. Calvinism is, for those who don't know, is a sect of Christianity where, well, in my opinion, I'm a Calvinist in a sense. I am actually a Calvinist, but it's a fundamental form of Christianity, and it's unpalatable for a lot of folks. But I believe it to be true. But I'm curious to see if Ken is a part of the Calvinist movement, just to see if I can kind of extrapolate the values, Protestant values, into his work, because we're unable to confirm he was born a Catholic or a Protestant. So we'll go from there. All right, let's talk about Katherine Weingartt, his first wife. So you notice he married a woman named Katherine, just like the name after his mom, which is kind of creepy to me. He married a woman named Catherine, and I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that he married that. I don't know what that's all about, but they were dating in high school. They didn't have kids. So what went wrong? I mean, she looks like a pretty lady. I would say she's beautiful. She is remarried to another guy that has kids and adopted kids and stuff. And she lives a very fruitful life. Looks like, from what I know of her, she's very she looks like she's happy, like genuinely happy. Like every photo she sees, she's looked like she's, quote, living her best life now. I will say that much. And I'm asking myself, here's a nice lady. She looks trustworthy. What went wrong? Well, I think what happened is when Ken came into this money, this exuberant amount of money, like a lot of guys do, they think they can do better. There was a reason why these two got married. He proposed, they got married, and he abandoned her. In my opinion, that's abandonment. They didn't have any kids, but maybe that she wasn't cut out for that lifestyle, that married, a hedge fund wife. What does that entail? I can tell you something. When I saw her lifestyle, she seems like just a regular folks. She doesn't seem like a family member of a like a Stepford wife or anything. And I feel as if Ken wanted that. He wanted the kids from her, and she was not about this life. She didn't want all that stuff. She seemed like she wants to be comfortable, but not, overly whatever. And of course, Ken's working all the time. He's stressed out in that first few years. It's not much of a marriage, I would imagine. I would imagine that, where Ken screwed up is that he didn't work on his marriage like he did on his formulas and his algos, and the marriage dissolved. They didn't have any kids, and I would say that Ken would be the one. He wasn't the one that initiated the divorce. It was probably Catherine, because we see this person emerging after this first divorce. I think Ken wanted children in a very, very bad way in the beginning, and I think this divorce scarred him, caused him trauma in a deep visceral sense. And I think he became angry, but there was also an air of desperation for kids. He's got a brilliant mind, but he hasn't found the real joys of life, the wife, the children, the home, the simplicities of life, and the joy that it brings. He was too enamored with money and wealth and those things. And that's what we find about Catherine. Catherine is like a mom. She's a soccer mom. There is a certain comfort to coming home to a wife who's got dinner ready, and the kids are home and they're playing, and there's a normalcy that Ken was looking for. He didn't find that through Catherine, and I would venture to say she probably said, this isn't for me. I don't see my husband. He could be doing X, Y, and Z. Because, Ken was in the hedge fund business during the time where it was Jordan Belfort and all those clowns and the cocaine and the prostitutes. I think he was smarter than them. I don't think he probably engaged in that kind of behavior, the drug use and stuff. Was he committing adultery? I don't know. I don't believe so. Usually guys like them typically don't do that stuff. When you look at his pedigree, his family was intact until very recently. His family, his father and mother, we know that they're divorced, but it wasn't until later on that they got divorced. So when he grew up, he used that as the framework of what marriage should be. And that's what he was looking for, but he didn't get. All right. So enough of Catherine. Let's talk about Harvard. All right. So he majored in economics. I went to the university. I couldn't find out what house he belonged to. It's probably Adams, I would say. I would venture to say it was probably Adams. But he discovered quantitative models. The stuff that he was doing at Harvard on the side, these quantitative models, he found out he could price options, convertible bonds, and equity warrants back in the 80s, late 80s. And what did he do? He set up a satellite link at his house or at his dorm, and he was trading. He was fucking trading from the dorms. This is a guy that was, a freshman, a sophomore, and he had a satellite. He had them put up a satellite so he can trade options from his house. and I have to admire that. That's respectable in my book. But, in the beginning, he wanted to go into private equity. It never happened for him. He found different strategies. He was one of the first guys that brought these quantitative models to Wall Street because Wall Street didn't see the right side of it. They were just starting to modernize and technologically become more technologically advanced because the movement known as software was slowly creeping into Wall Street. In one of his interviews, they talk about Ben Rosen, the guy that was preaching to all of Wall Street, saying, "Hey, there's this thing coming up, you guys. It's called Excel. It's going to change the way we do business. Get ready for it." And to some degree, some guys were ready for it, some guys weren't. And Ken was in during those times. He was one of the early guys that got in this hedge fund business, and it was an interesting time for him. He is very smart. Let's talk about what happened to him in terms of his investments. So he began in '86 in his first year at Harvard, college itself. Started up the hedge fund, the Citadel, from his office, his college dorm, and we talked about that. And he didn't have any money. We know that. He was managing funds, but he didn't have any real money. So he went to Glenwood Partners in Chicago. They were his first backers. Later on, they sued him for fraudulently ending the business relationship. There was one guy, just a very strange, his name was Simons, Simons, and he sued Ken Griffin for breaching of contract or something, but it seemed like a frivolous lawsuit, and Ken won. And just continue on with Citadel. He gave him, his investment back an 80% return, and Ken, walked away from it all. But they ended the relationship amicably. I'm sorry, and they're gone now. I couldn't find out what happened to Simons, whatever the hell his name was. He just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. But I thought it was interesting. Let's talk about his life during and after the investment in Citadel and when he began. This is Anna Diaz Griffin. This is one of the driving forces behind him, the person, and him, the the monster, I suppose. Anna is a strong, aggressive alpha female. She's a feminist, she's French, and she's a huge art enthusiast, right? Diaz started her career as a financial analyst at Goldman in London. Then she went to New York and later joined the Soros fund, which is Quantum. And later on, she became portfolio manager at Viking Global. They met, they have this commonality at Harvard. She graduated from HBS. Her undergrad was in Georgetown. And she was just this meat eater. And I guarantee Ken Griffin saw his grandmother in this woman. Here's this very strong person. But Ken, remember, she wanted to excel in career. She wanted to be the first female fund manager, right? At that time, it was very new. She didn't have any money. She came from France. She had some money, but not a lot. And Ken wanted a wife. He wanted children, and he wanted her to stay at home, play wife. He wanted a home life. He never had a home life since he's been doing this work. And there was this understanding between Anna Diaz, however you want to pronounce it, and Ken, right? I feel as if this was a transactional marriage, not a real marriage, but just, they obviously love each other, they had kids, but this was an understanding marriage that, you would provide this and I'd give you access to this type of thing. But she wanted a name for herself. And Ken was the mark. Ken had more money at that time than a lot of people did. And he was still young. She saw how vulnerable Ken Griffin was, and she preyed on him. And in all intents and purposes, I see a woman like her, who I think she's fucking gorgeous. Look at her. But I see somebody who is just watching and calculating and waiting and waiting and waiting, right? Ken, we know, is kind of stunted. He's an awkward guy, doesn't really talk, and I would imagine he drove her fucking crazy. Like, I could see his awkward pauses, his awkward things that he says, driving her nuts. She's a fast mover. Ken is very methodical. He's going through all the line by lines and that OCD personality. Well, she's a little bit different. You know, it was transactional though. I guarantee it. You know, she wanted to make a name. Okay, I'll give you the kids. I want to be able to do whatever I want and start my own thing and be as famous as you. And there was an inequality in the marriage, a marital inequality, because, you know, there was a lopsidedness. Ken has gone through the divorce, and here he sees an aggressive female, and, you know, okay, I got to protect myself. 3 days before they were going to get married, Anna rather, gets slapped with a prenup where she responds with "fuck you" and "fuck your prenup" 3 days before the wedding, and that's when that massive fight ensued and that bedpost incident occurred. Right, that's when all that shit went down. You know, but Ken Griffin, during the divorce, of course, they're divorced now. Ken Griffin won during the divorce. The prenup that he made her sign was ironclad. So our boy here slimed through, and you know, she made a little bit of money throughout the divorce, not a lot really, just whatever. But interestingly enough, Anna Diaz founded Aragon, and it was seeded by Julian Robertson of Tiger Management. What is interesting to me is the name of the fund, Aragon. That is just a interesting thing to me. I don't know why. How many of you guys remember your ancient, well, not your history, but your history? Catherine of Aragon was the wife of Henry VIII, and I don't know why, but I just thought it was funny that Henry VIII sent his wife Catherine of Aragon away, divorced her, changed his entire life around, including his faith, charting the Church of England, and divorced her because she couldn't give him any children. And I started to think about that. So there's Catherine, his mother, Catherine, his wife, and this reference to Aragon. I thought that was very strange. I thought that was very interesting as well. I don't know what happened to Catherine of Aragon. I think she was ever remarried or not, but she was banished, and she went back home. You know, she was the you know, the relative of the monarch in France. I think it was her father or uncle. I don't know. But nonetheless, I thought that was interesting. I thought you'd like this as well. Let's talk about investments. So we talked about the Glenwood partnership where he got his seed money. Let's talk about today. So Ken Griffin's worth about 20 billion, right? He is involved in philanthropy, PACs. He got his love for art through Anna. Anna had culture. She was French, okay? She brought sophistication to Ken Griffin. Ken Griffin was kind of a schmuck from Florida and Illinois and didn't really have any sophistication. This woman and her French charm and her dignity was the driving force behind his art collection. She knew what she was doing. He, not so much. Ken was kind of a schmuck in that sense. This woman had taste, she had sophistication, and at all intents and purposes, Ken was kind of just getting walked over. I would say that's just, you know, the way I see it. But they had 3 kids together, and they're their names right there. Very nice kids. Net worth. Okay. So they own multiple homes together, multiple pieces of art, hundreds of millions of dollars in art. They have influence in the highest levels of government in multiple countries. But, you know, as everybody knows, Ken made a mistake, or one of his people made a mistake and screwed up. And the one thing I learned in this business so far is that the market makes fools out of all of us, including Bernie, including this guy, and Ken, and everybody else. He makes us all fools. That's what I've learned from this. Didactically, this is what I learned, that, you know, he learned some things from his wife. He learned some things from his grandmother and his mother, but he couldn't correctly apply everything together to have a successful life. He could have done a lot. He could have had the mom dad relationship and the kids and all through this woman, but he screwed it up. So he upgraded and got this woman who was too much for him, who was too smart, who was too cunning, and she ran the show basically. And then Ken, being kind of a pussy, if you will, had her sign the prenup. I think that is what messed this marriage up. When you force your wife to 3 days for a wedding to sign a prenup, it tells me that you think this is gonna fail. So during the time where they were dating, he could have left the marriage, he could have, or the engagement, the relationship, and walked away scot-free, but he didn't, because he's a pushover. Remember that part I said he was Sigma. Um, she just wanted to do something great with her life. She has ambitions, and I'm not blaming her for that. She saw a mark, and Ken was it, and it is what it is. She made out at the end. But I think after these 2 divorces, Ken has lost his humanity to some degree. I think he's narcissistic, he's hubris, and I think a part of his soul is shut down because of the pain. I think, I've said this before. I use as an example, leprosy or Hansen's disease, it's called today, is not, when you rub your fingers or your face off, your body parts fall off. That's not what leprosy is. It's the deadening of the nerves, where you're dead in certain parts. And to some degree, his conscience has been quietened. I can't speak this morning. It's been quieted down. He's numb. He's built an immunity to his conscience, if you will, and he's able to do these things, the criminal acts that we've seen so far. And that's what Ken is all about. And this is the closing prayer to his grandmother's obituary. I thought this was very nice. It's an old Irish prayer. There's a time to work. It's the price of success. Take time to think. It's the source of power. Take time to play. It's the secret of perpetual youth. Take time to be friendly. It's the road to happiness. Take time to love and be loved. It's the privilege of the gods. Take time to share life. It is too short to be selfish. Take time to laugh. Laughter is music of the soul. And I hope after the squeeze, you remember the words of this what I call a wonderful woman, Genevieve Hubschgratz, and this beautiful poem, this Irish prayer. And I hope you learned something today. I hope you learned what makes Ken Griffin tick, and the influences he had in his life, and how he got to the place that he is at right now in his life. And I hope you found value in this. And if you did, please share it with your friends. I would appreciate it. And if you could subscribe and hit the little bell icon, and I'll make sure that you're on my next video. You get notified for the next video, which is on Citadel, the company. I'm going to exposit Citadel, the way they operate, all the guts, the technology, the operations, as much as I can dig up. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please, thank you again for joining me. Al from Boston, signing out.